Recording. Hello, everyone. My name is Katherine Kreidler with the National Sports Media, and today I have the privilege to interview the 2024 Sports Broadcaster of the Year for South Carolina, Marc Whiteman. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, Catherine, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
First of all, congratulations on winning, and what was your reaction when you found out?
It's pretty cool. I've been nominated a few times and had not won. So when I got the call from Dave, it was very humbling. There's so many incredible sports broadcasters in the state. We all know each other because
Mhm.
it's really a state that cooperates in so many facets, right? Like it's not the biggest state, and people in the low country are worried about covering Clemson, and we're concerned about covering South Carolina and getting down to stuff in the low country. So we all know each other. We all run in the same circles. So I know there's a lot of really terrific broadcasters and journalists all across the state, and a lot of people that have done this for a very long time and done it very, very well. So to be even considered amongst them and to be named the recipient of the award was a great honor.
That's awesome. So let's do a little background on you. Are you
Sure.
from South Carolina?
Nope, I'm born and raised in South Florida. I
Okay.
went I went to the University of Florida, and I have been in South Carolina since 2019.
Okay. So you said you went to the University of Florida?
Florida. Yep, I'm a
Florida? Okay.
Gator. I'm a Gator. National
Okay.
champs.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was did you have any internships while you were in college?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I did quite a few internships when I was in school. For one, the University of Florida had a really incredible broadcasting program. It was one of the reasons why I decided to go there in the first place.
Mhm.
So we were putting on multiple newscasts a night by the time I was a junior and senior. So I was like our Monday to Friday sports anchor. So I had a lot of practical on-campus experience while I was still in school. As far as internships, I interned locally at a couple of stations in Gainesville when I was in college. One of those being TV 20, which is kind of the legacy ABC
Mhm.
newscast, ABC station there in Gainesville. And then being from South Florida, I always was sorry, my kiddo's a little excited watching Miss Rachel right
No,
now.
you're fine.
Um, being being from South Florida, I've always been very, very interested, obviously, in like South Florida sports, and grew up watching a lot of the stations down there. So when I was in school, between my junior and senior year, I interned at the NBC affiliate in Miami, NBC 6. So was there at a great time. Got to help cover the Miami Heat when they were
Oh,
making their
cool.
run to their first championship. So it's a really, really special time to be down there working in sports in South Florida. And it was a great internship, and still take some of those lessons with me today, all these years later.
So then what was your first job out of college?
Yeah. My first job was in Knoxville,
Okay.
Tennessee. I started as the fill-in weekend sports anchor slash sports reporter. I was essentially the number three person in the department there. One of my friends from college had gone and gotten a couple reporter jobs in the time that I was finishing grad school. I stayed at UF and got my master's degree at UF, so I was at UF a total of 6 years. And in the years that I was getting my master's degree, a friend of mine from undergrad got a job in Knoxville at a station there, and he put me in contact with their news director.
Okay.
And From there, it was one thing led to another, and yeah, I was in Knoxville shortly after that. So I've only ever had two jobs in TV. I was in Knoxville for 4.5 years, and then I moved to Greenville in 2019. So those have been my only two jobs, but I worked my way up in Knoxville.
So then what do your responsibilities look like in Greenville now?
Yeah. We have a three-person sports department. It's myself. It's Julia Morris, who's actually a previous recipient of the Sportscaster of the Year award
Okay.
in the state of South Carolina. She won a couple years ago. And then we have a sports reporter slash anchor by the name of Chase Justice. So there's three of us in our department. And I also happen to do news. So I am our 5 p.m. news anchor every day. So a typical day for me, I'll do the newscast from 5 to 6, and then I will do sports in the 6 o'clock show, and we'll do sports in the 11 o'clock show. If there's a big sporting event going on, or I'm out live covering some event, then I'm just focused on sports for that day. So my duties kind of vary day to day. It's always just kind of going where the story takes us, and there's no shortage of things. I mean, there's really no down period here in South Carolina. We have maybe
Yeah.
6 weeks in the middle of summer, but other than that, there's something to do just about year round.
Okay. Did you have any challenges like early on in your career and how did you overcome those if so?
Yeah. That's a great question. Yeah, I think everyone kind of has some challenges and things they got to overcome in their career. For me, first one, fairly obvious. Like it took me a while to find a job.
Hmm.
I went home after college and I figured I'd gone to this great school. I had all this practical on air experience. I got a master's degree and gotten even more on air experience. I put together a half-hour show for my master's thesis that was just like all in-depth reporting.
Oh,
Like
wow.
I thought I had a lot of really excellent things to offer a news station right out of school, and
Hmm.
I couldn't get anyone to return a call or answer an email. I sent out a lot of applications, did not hear back. And it wasn't until, I mean, I didn't even think I was going to apply for the Knoxville job. I'd seen it posted and I thought like, oh, that's way too high of a market for me to start my career in. And I didn't even think to apply until my friend reached out. So yeah, I think a lot of rejections early on is one of the first things you kind of have to deal with. But then once you're in the industry, it's slowly, I think, starting to realize that like maybe some of the things that you thought or how the career was going to pan out don't necessarily play out that way, and being able to roll with the punches. I've had great bosses. I've had bosses that I've kind of struggled with. I've had coworkers that have been wonderful people, some of my closest friends, and there have been others that I've kind of struggled with as well. So I think it's just navigating the personal relationships day in, day out in a business that can be very hard, can be very time consuming, can be very challenging, but is also incredibly rewarding as well.
Yeah.
So nothing as some sort of like massive adversity, but just a lot of ups and downs in a career that kind of tends to bring you a lot of ups and downs, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Definitely. That reminds me of my interview yesterday with Merrill Reese. His advice was having resilience, and
Sure.
that I feel like really touches on that because he said you're gonna have so many people slam the door in your face and say no and not even get responses, but you just have to keep trying. So like what was keeping you like motivated to keep trying after all of that?
I think it's the passion that you have for it, right? It's such an incredible thing that we get to do. Like anyone that works in sports media will tell you that the reason they got into it in the first place, and I'm sure you're the same way, is
Hmm.
because they love sports. For me, I
Yeah.
knew very early on like I was not going to be athletic enough nor competitive enough to play it at any seriously difficult level. But I knew I wanted to be around the games and the sports and the athletes, and this was such a natural transition point for me. So it's the passion for what we do. And it's I think to that to the point of your other advice there, it's having that developing that scar tissue that like not everything is going to go the way you foresee it going, but that's okay. And being able to do it day in and day out, like it's really easy to get like jaded or cynical in this industry, but like at your core, the thing that grounds you is the fact that like I get paid to do the thing that I grew up loving, right? And
Hmm.
it maybe in a slightly different facet than we grew up loving it. But it's always something that like sports has been a tug on my entire life. And I think most people that work in sports media feel the same way. We're so fortunate we get to do this. And I think that's kind of the thing you always sort of ground yourself and center
Yeah.
yourself in reminding yourself about is that we're very fortunate that we get to be able to do this and to make the most of it while we get to do it because it doesn't last forever.
So what would you say is the most like rewarding part of your job?
I think the people,
Okay.
yeah, you meet so many great people that do this. A lot of people that, so to some of my earlier answers, that share the same interests as you.
Hmm.
You're around all these big sporting events. You're seeing the same journalists. You're seeing the same coaches. You're seeing the same athletes, and you start to build relationships with them over the course of time. When you're in locker rooms, when you're, peppering athletes with questions after games, or even just like the camaraderie that the people that you work with on a day-to-day basis, your competitors, your colleagues, you guys are all doing the same thing at different places and wanting to do it to the best of your possible ability. And that sort of brings out the best in everyone around you. So there are just so many wonderful, wonderful people I get to work with at WYFF. For one, some of my competitors here in Greenville are some of my closest friends. Just really, really good people that care deeply about the product that they put on air every day. And
Hmm.
I think that in some ways, like just sort of pushes you to be the best version of yourself. But yeah, I think it's the people and then the experiences. I mean, there's just so many great things I get to do and so many wonderful places I get to go and explore and events I get to cover, tournaments I've gone to,
Hmm.
postseason trips. There's just so many incredible experiences along the way, but they wouldn't matter so much if you didn't enjoy doing it with all the people that you're working with around you on a
Yeah,
day-to-day basis. So yeah, it comes back to the people.
definitely. So what are some of your favorite games or events or things you've covered?
That's a great question. In South Carolina, I think the first one that really jumps out to me is I was in Orlando when Furman won on a buzzer beater and beat Virginia in the NCAA tournament a couple years
Okay,
ago. It's a
cool.
great upset. It was for Furman. It was their first win in the NCAA tournament in more than 40 years. And it was pretty improbable that they got to that point because they were down late and it took like some kind of head clutching mistakes by Virginia and just an improbable shot by Furman, a former player there by the name of JP Pegues. That one sticks out. Gotten to go to some incredible places. I was just in Austin back in December for
That's
Clemson's
cool.
playoff game against Texas, a place I never thought I'd really get to go and to travel. I've seen some late kind of incredible comeback wins by Clemson. My first year here, they beat Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl in the
Oh,
playoff in a game that they
wow.
were trailing late, and
Yeah.
really incredible game. And then they lost to LSU and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and all
Mm,
those great players in the championship game. I've seen South Carolina football win some really thrilling games over Clemson. I got here when they were on a long losing streak against the Tigers, and seeing how Shane Beamer has built that program up there has been really, really thrilling. But for me, at my core, like I've always loved basketball. Yeah, you excited, bud? I've always loved basketball. And so getting to cover the NCAA tournament each year and doing it in different facets. Clemson's run to the Elite Eight. I'm sorry, Clemson's run to the Elite Eight a year ago. So unexpected, so much fun to go from here in Greenville to Memphis for a couple days, back to Greenville, then flying out to Los Angeles the next day. It was just an incredible trip. My wife, who was pregnant at the time, didn't necessarily love how much time I was away on the road, but no, you just get to go and experience so many things. And so some of those sporting events I think really stand out as some of the incredible high water marks of what I've been able to do in my career.
That's awesome. And you mentioned Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow.
Hmm.
I'm from Cincinnati, so I'm a huge
Gotcha.
Bengals fan.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad
Um,
they were able to lock up T. Higgins and
oh yeah,
and Jamar, and hopefully they can get some defensive pieces on the other side of the
exactly.
ball.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess my final question is, do you have any advice for students, young professionals looking to pursue the same career?
Yeah, I think it kind of gets back to a lot of what we've talked about, Catherine. It's don't get discouraged, right? You're not
Mhm.
gonna to your earlier point about the other advice you'd gotten about being resilient. I think that's
Mhm.
such an essential part of what it is that we do.
Yeah.
Um, not being afraid of rejection, not being afraid of, not building one opportunity up so much in your head that you get disappointed if it doesn't come to fruition. Because there's going to be
Mhm.
a lot of closed doors, and you never know what a station or a market or a company is looking for in particular. And sometimes that they just are never going to say outright like, hey, you've got a chance at this job or you don't have a chance at this job. So not being discouraged by that rejection and staying aggressive and staying passionate about what it is. And then
Mhm.
the other thing, I think I've gotten this advice several times throughout my career, and I think it's the thing that I come back to the most is um, I guess there's two other things, but the first would be watching everything critically and not just watching it passively, and thinking about the things that other people do well that you can sort of meld into your game. So like, hey, you
Yeah.
really like how someone is reports their stuff when they're standing up or their presence in a studio. Don't just watch it and say like, oh, they're really good. Watch it and try and understand what makes them so good and
Mhm.
trying to meld aspects of what other people do well into your own game. I do that on a day-to-day basis. I think the two people that I work with in my sports department, Julia and Chase, are terrific in their own regards. Julia does a lot of things that I really like that I've tried to incorporate in what I
Mhm.
do, and Chase as a younger guy has some incredible passion, and I try and meld the things that he's really good at into what I'm doing as well. So thinking about things critically and trying to apply that. And it goes to like watching like the nightly news, watching Sports Center. I love SVP. I still try and watch him most nights at midnight. And even if I'm only watching for 5, 10 minutes, like those couple minutes that I'm with him trying to figure out like what he does well that makes him
Mhm.
so good at what he does. And hey, is there anything that he does that I can incorporate into what I'm doing? And then the last thing is I've talked so much about the people in this industry. It's
Mhm.
being kind to everyone. Like, and not just because it's like a transactional kindness of like, hey, I might get something from someone down the road. You just never know who you're interacting with and a connection that you might make, and
Yeah.
not thinking about doing it because it might benefit you, but just thinking about doing it because that's what makes this industry so rewarding, is the
Hmm.
connections you're able to make with people. And you never know along the way, like who you might meet going up, who you might meet coming down that can help you out or can lift you up, or might be a friend or a colleague or a shoulder to lean on in tough times down the road.
Definitely. I like that a lot. That's really good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been
Yeah.
so nice talking with you.
Yeah. Pleasure.